Welcome back. Well, any peace deal between Syria and Israel will have enormous regional impact. Syria will have to drop its support for organizations that Israel and the United States accuse of carrying out terrorism. This would include expelling groups like Hamas and Islamic Jihad, who maintain offices in Damascus. Then there's Hezbollah, who claimed victory against Israel in the 2006 war in southern Lebanon. Damascus supports the Shia organization morally and financially, but this, of course, would have to end. And Syria has important strategic links with Iran. Damascus is Tehran's closest Arab ally, but Iran is violently opposed to Israel and is unlikely to accept any peace deal. Well, we're joined again by our guests in Ankara, Alon Leal, in Damascus, Samir Al-Taki, and in Beirut, Alistair Crook. Alistair Crook, let me come back to you for the second part of this show. The big prize for Syria, of course, would be the Golan Heights. We've talked about that. But presumably the trade-off for Israel is that Syria stops supporting groups like Hezbollah and Hamas.
Yes, that's exactly right. I mean, I think what we heard from both the two other guests in the show was effectively that what is being proposed is if you like, a shelf agreement, rather like in the Palestinian context, whereby some of the bilateral issues are agreed in advance, and then everyone waits to see if it's possible to have a wider comprehensive settlement. But as it looks at the moment, it's not easy to see that a comprehensive settlement is possible. We can see what's happening in the Palestinian context. Abu Mazen has just returned, President Abbas has just returned from Washington to say he made no advance there, no success in Washington. We see what's happening in Gaza, and we see the relationship between the United States and Iran. So I think all of these things would have to come into place, because I think it would be very, very difficult to conceive of Syria being able to do any sort of bilateral engagement or bilateral agreement with Israel that somehow left Gaza in the condition that it's in now, that left the Palestinian issues unsettled, that left, if you like, the region still in a strategic sense of conflict. Okay, we'll come back to the Palestinian issue in just a second, but Samir Al-Taki in Damascus, I mean, what about those Palestinian groups that Alistair Crook was just talking about, groups like Hamas, Islamic Jihad, the PFLP? What would their future look like under a Syria-Israeli peace deal, because they wouldn't be allowed to operate from Syrian territory anymore, presumably?
I think that at the end of the game, Syria will try not to allow any deal between it and Israel at the expense of the Palestinian people. And this, to say this, we have to admit that all those non-state players, what is their aim? Can they win over Israel? I don't think. All their aim is to bring the Israelis on the table. And if the intention is about peace, I think Hamas will not fight Israel, and Hezbollah cannot fight Israel without a Lebanese pretext. And already the leaders of Hezbollah had said that if Lebanon gets what it wants from the Arab-Israeli, from the Israelis, and if the Lebanese-Israeli track would be solved in a comprehensive deal, that this would be a good opportunity, and there would be no pretext for war.
Okay, I want to put that point to Alon Leal there in Ankara. I mean, is there any place, for example, for Hezbollah in this deal? I mean, does this deal undermine them both politically and militarily?
I think what Samir just said now is very important. The reason everybody is focusing now on Israel and Syria is that the talks with the Palestinians are stuck and are leading nowhere. And we have to change the balance inside the Palestinian people. The Hamas is preventing progress. We cannot withdraw from the West Bank and hand it to Abu Mazen while he represents only half of the Palestinian people, and the other half is fighting against Israel from Gaza. So there has to come a change, and the only possible change is if Syria will enable it. If Syria will decide that it is expelling Khaled Mashal, it will change the balance inside. And I'm sitting now in Ankara. I'm Israeli, but I'm visiting here, and the Turks remind me all the time that exactly 10 years ago, Abdullah Öcalan was thrown out of Damascus, and it led to a major change in the relations between Syria and Turkey, and it's really a love affair today. So there is a lot that we can expect from Syrian moves within this framework of the negotiations.
Let me quickly put that point of the Mideast, of the Palestinian conflict to Alistair Crook there in Beirut. I mean, it seems, and what Alon Leal is saying, is that there's a pecking order for peace here. I mean, is it easier for Israel to do a deal with the Syrians first and then the Palestinians after?
I think that this is impossible. Essentially, what you were hearing a little bit was a suggestion that Israel is nervous not only because of what's happening in Hamas in Gaza, but that's, if you like, the center circle, the center of the circle, but the external circle, which is, of course, Hamas, Hezbollah, Syria, and Iran, is what is threatening. So that if you can take the component, the center part of that equation out of action, then it would be possible to put more pressure on Hamas and to find an internal solution there. But I think what Samir Al-Taqi said was actually correct, that the only way to go is, in fact, to have a comprehensive settlement. And if that occurs, and there really is a settlement of all the issues, then, of course, both Hezbollah and Hamas do not have anything to be concerned about from a really comprehensive settlement. But I think at this stage, Israel is still not looking at it through that optic, that what they're trying to do is still to remove the weakest link from the axis that they see facing them, rather than to understand it as an opportunity or another forum in which they could really move towards a comprehensive settlement of the problem, in which case there wouldn't be difficulty with the other players.
All right, well, let's ask that question to Samir Al-Taqi. I mean, how difficult will it be, how complex will it be to get that comprehensive deal?
I think it had been formulated at a certain time by the late President Hafez al-Assad. He said, yes, we should have a process of peace. The attitude vis-à-vis peace should be comprehensive. And then the Syrian track could go at a certain gear, and the Palestinian track could go at a slower or faster gear. But this is, the approach should be, the target, the view should be toward a comprehensive peace. So at the end of the game, the vision is that, yes, if Israel is aiming to, and the United States is aiming to work on the Syrian-Israeli track, yes, but the attitude, the general attitude is not to say that we don't have an Arab interlocutor as they had made in 2000, in the year 2000. For example, I would say, they should negotiate with the whole Palestinian arena. They should try to ease the sanctions they are making on the Palestinian people. So at the end, Syria will not be able to do a peace with Israel while it is massacring, killing, and doing what it's now doing, for example, with the Palestinians in Gaza.
Okay, a final question very quickly to Alon Leal there in Ankara. I mean, could a peace deal between Syria and Israel boost or weaken the chances of a deal with Israel and the Palestinians?
We are all after the same thing. We are after a comprehensive deal, and we have the deal. It's the Arab plan or the Saudi plan. And if we can do everything together, the withdrawal from the West Bank and the withdrawal from the Golan Heights at once, welcome. I don't think we can do it together because the Hamas is not speaking with us, so I don't think we can finalize a deal there. So we might better start with the Golan Heights and then move to deal with the West Bank. Everybody understands that it has to be something close to the 1967 border, and Israel, in fact, accepted it.
Okay, gentlemen, we have to leave it there. Alon Leal in Ankara, Samir Al-Taqi in Damascus, and Alistair Crook in Beirut. Gentlemen, thank you all very much indeed for your time. And thank you so much for joining us here on this edition of Inside Story. We, of course, welcome your suggestions and your comments. Please email them to us at insidestory@aljazeera.net. From the whole team here, goodbye for now.